I'm going to paint a picture. Now this picture has a twist. Painted with a razor blade painted on a wrist. I'm going to take the colours from the darkness of my heart. I'm going to use the darkness to make a piece of art. I'm going to tell a story in the hope you feel less alone. In the hope you realise you are never on your own. It was like the opposite of blind sight. Unable to sense any source of light. More than sadness, exhaustion and tears looking different on everyone. It doesn't adhere to a one-size-fits-all set of symptoms and feelings. It was black and it was empty. And it felt like there was an explosion raging to burst inside of me. Like a volcano waiting to erupt, a ticking time bomb about to cause more chaos and destruct. I would try a run away from it, panting, peering over my shoulder, check it was still there, but no matter how far I would run, it just got closer. So I stopped running. I realised I couldn't get away. It was a power play, it versus me, and there was no power left in me. I started losing sense of reality. Further and further away from the world I felt I travelled. More feelings of loneliness and isolation unravelled. Becoming invisible to my own darkness. I felt like a cord had cut me off from the world, as life around me unfurled. I was rooted to the spot, sinking like quicksand, deafened by the voices in my head and its commands. Sometimes I felt absolutely nothing, numbness. Other times it was completely overpowering, everything in abundance. The voices in my head, the physical reactions, completely irrational. The transactions I offered to quiet and quieten it down were simply rejected, resulting in more breakdowns. The night times were the worst, as I lay on my bed in the evenings. I was crushed by the weight of the world. Felt like my mattress lay on top of me. Heavy, really, really heavy. Feeling so hollow and empty inside. My head propped up by a monster of thoughts rather than my pillow. Covered in wounds that never showed on my body. That were deeper and more painful than anything that bleeds. To see a way out of it was hard. It kind of felt like a life sentence. But with very little fight left, I took this acceptance. I was too tired to try and reason with it. Easier just to take the hit. Sick of crying and tired of trying. I felt I resembled a tree, looking strong on the outside. But when a tiny bit of me snapped, there was nothing left to show than my rotting years. In the beginning of recovery, most days I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. The self-loathing that came with it was too big a trigger to cope with. So I didn't look at myself in the mirror. I looked down at the scars on my arm, angry for giving myself a depression sticker. I cried for no reason and was quite unsure how to function with these feelings. But I got out of bed that morning, and it was a start, and as the days passed, getting out of bed didn't feel quite as hard. Yesterday I said tomorrow I would give up, but tomorrow is today and I'm still standing up. I laughed over breakfast and smiled to the postman. I was proud of myself for a moment. Life was beginning to seep in beneath the cracks. It felt like it wasn't just darkness and black. I remember thinking this could be hope. It was a tiny whisper in a single thread, but it was daring and illuminating and helped me fight the panic and dread of this life. There were lighthouses, a steady pulsing on the lookout for you and me. But you see, when we fail to talk about it, fail to be open and honest with ourselves, we will be left to drown at sea. Rest if you must, but do not quit. Life is a strange old thing with turns and twists. They say happiness will find you, but I think sadness finds you too. It creeps up on you in the darkness, just when you think you've made it through. But there is so much happiness amongst the sadness, so much joy to be lived. For many, sadly, the story doesn't have such a happy ending. We live in a world with so many contending forces. A time of so much anxiety and fear. I don't think 2020 has been anyone's year. A worldwide pandemic on top of an already dire mental health landscape. So many people stuck and desperate for an escape. live in a society in which mental health care isn't accessible for all. So many people aren't being caught as mental health needs to be invested in. It is not an expense and it needs to be prioritised in order to avoid further catastrophe. This is an area of so much tragedy that is preventable and can be stopped. These investments are not purely the government's responsibility. They are the responsibilities of us all. We ourselves are untapped resources in mental health care. So if I ask of you one thing today, please take the time to care. Thank you.